Good afternoon and welcome to Cotswold District Council Live. We're streaming live from the Barn Theatre in Cirencester. We've got a packed show for you today. I'm joined by my colleague, Councillor Andrew Doherty, who's the Cabinet Member for Waste and Recycling in the Cotswolds. Lots of questions for him, I'm sure. I'm also going to be joined by Daisy Payne, who started the Garden to Garden initiative. She's a vlogger and she'll be showing you how you can do your gardening from the comfort of your very own home here in lockdown. We're also going to be joined by Cliff Thrussell, who helps in the community, in the Cirencester Foodbank, in our community champion section. So we look forward to that. As is customary during these broadcasts, start with big thank yous, first of all to our fantastic NHS staff. Another week in lockdown, and we're all in awe of the sacrifice and all of the work that our NHS frontline staff are putting in. Thank you to everybody. As well as that, we thank our key workers, those who are working in the care sector, going and looking after our residents, many of them old and vulnerable, and of course our council staff, who are doing an absolutely fantastic job trying to ensure that services continue to function and that things like your waste are still collected. So thank you to everybody for everything they're doing. Like last week, we'll be with you for between 45 minutes and an hour, and we've got a packed show. So we're going to start with some pre-submitted questions, as is normal. So the first one we've got is from Chris Smith, and it's to me. Seeing as we're on lockdown, when did traffic wardens become key essential workers? Well, Chris, a really, really good question. I think I want to start by saying, traffic wardens get a bad rap. Nobody likes it when they're ticketed. I certainly don't. And it's fair to say, even as the leader of the council, I have been ticketed myself a fair few times. Nobody likes it. I think the first thing I want to say, though, is they are human beings, and please treat it like that. They're doing their job. It's people like me and Andy and other councillors that run the council and employ the traffic wardens. Please remember that they're just doing their job. In terms of traffic wardens, you might know that the district council are responsible for car parks. So Andy and I and our colleagues, we made a decision a few weeks ago to suspend car parking charges, and therefore we've got no requirement for the use of traffic wardens in those car parks. So we're not currently using any traffic wardens to enforce. The county council, however, are still using traffic wardens, and for a very important reason, actually, to make sure that the roads are free, particularly for emergency vehicles. And I know the police were quite keen to stress to the county council that traffic wardens remained in place so we can keep the roads clear. So I think the key thing is common sense. If there are parking restrictions, make sure that you're following them. All the car parks in the Cotswolds are free, so you can use those to park in, but the traffic wardens are still there to ensure that traffic continues to flow. I've also got another question from Chris. Do they carry hand sanitisers to wash their hands regularly? I don't know, but I will chase that up with the county council and we'll have an answer for you, hopefully in the next few days. If not, I will bring that back to next week's show. The next one we've got, I'll tell you what, let's hand straight over to Andy Doherty, because I've got a lot of questions about waste and recycling. Andy, do you just want to give us a couple of minutes before we go to some questions, just to tell us about the latest on waste and recycling and where we're at, because obviously under great strain at the minute.
Yes, I think it's similar to when we talked about it before. Across the board, that's nationally, Gloucestershire and in the Cotswolds as well, we're looking at about 20% more material coming through that we're collecting and taking away. So that's food waste, that's your dry recycling, and then that's your residual waste that's going into the black bins. So all of that, combined with the fact we're shorter on staff, particularly the permanent staff who know the area well. So we can get temporary and we can get agency staff, and if we need to, but they never know the nooks and crannies of the Cotswolds as well as the people who work for us all the time. So those two things combined together put a lot of strain on the service. And the big message at the minute is to carry on with that reduce, reuse, recycle that we've always been agitating for people to do, but concentrate on that reduce and that reuse, because the recycling system across the country is pretty much running at the limits of what it can deal with.
Thanks, Andy. Well, let's jump straight in then to questions. Lucy Gillespie on Facebook. To you, Andrew. When will the garden waste removal service restart? And we've had that from a number of residents. And
that probably ties into the message I just gave about capacity. Practical problem we've got at the minute is all of the available crews that we've got and the garden waste vehicles have all been moved across onto doing what you would think of as the normal collections. So the residual waste, the food waste, the recycling. So for example, you will see some RCVs, the rear compaction vehicles, coming around and collecting things like cardboard and plastic at the minute. That's not because it's going to be thrown away. We've got some lorries that, if you look around the back, have 2 separate compartments, so they can collect additional materials like that we need to squash to get it all in. Now, we've only got so many vehicles, we've only got so many drivers, and on the driver front, we're lacking in the normal crews that we would have. So all of that capacity we normally use for the garden waste service is across doing your main collections. And until the staff situation standardises, and we're in a position where you don't have as many people at home all of the time, so the amount of material people are producing drops, it's hard to see when we'll get that garden waste service going again. Again, a common problem across the whole country. The fastest way to get the garden waste service running again would be for everyone to be doing that reduce and reuse step really, really strongly, so we're not constantly swamped with the amount of material that's coming in.
Okay, I've got a question here. This is to me. I've just come back from my daily walk. This is from Sarah in Cirencester. Just come back from my daily walk. Really, really nice walk. Interesting wildlife and very quiet. However, especially over the last few days, I've been overtaken by family groups of cyclists. 6 today. I'm delighted they're out in the fresh air and enjoying themselves, but not one group. Basically saying that they're not giving her a wide berth when they go past. How can we remind them that being on bikes does not mean they will not catch the virus? A really, really good point, Sarah. I think I'd just encourage all residents, whether you're jogging, whether you're cycling, whatever exercise that you're doing, is be mindful of other people. I run a fair bit, and I've just been making sure that when I'm on a run, sometimes I'll need to get into the middle of the road because that's the only way I'm going to avoid doing that. So I make sure I look out and the roads are quiet, and particularly on many country roads and around our estates, that's not so much of an issue. Of course, safety is the key thing. Make sure it's safe to do so. But yeah, if you're a jogger or a cyclist, you see people that you're coming up and you need to get around them, check it's safe. If it's not safe, stay behind them until it's safe to do so. But yeah, to everybody, please be considerate of other people. Residents in the Cotswolds have done an absolutely fantastic job at obeying the social distancing rules and staying inside. But when you are out doing your exercise, please just be considerate of other people. Right, Andy, I've got another one to you. It's from Ian Lamkin. Over the last 3 weeks, in the current situation, you have sorted out the green waste garden collections. Appreciate initial issues, but by now it should be sorted, either by reallocating staff equipment or by training new volunteers to assist. With so many more households gardening at this busy springtime, the levels of waste are considerably increasing and need managing. So it doesn't actually, there's not actually a question, but I think it's a statement. I think you probably echo what you've just said, wouldn't you?
I would, and possibly when we talk a bit more about gardening later, we'll bring up a few more things on this. I've spent a couple of days reorganising the compost heap at home to sort out some of the debris and detritus that's built up over time. And that's a big thing that you can do to help yourself and for us generally, is I appreciate people would like the garden waste service back, but there isn't this idea that there's a load of spare capacity to move across onto it. That capacity is being used for other things, and that's why you see this happening nationally. There's a lot of little things people can be doing to try and reduce the amount of material they're producing. There's things, for example, like simply mowing the lawn less, mowing it longer. Don't pick up the grass every single time. If you leave the grass out every other cut, that grass dries, particularly with the weather as it is at the minute, and it takes up a lot less volume when you try and put it in a heap somewhere in the garden. We'll be publishing a bit more material about putting compost heap in the garden, regardless of how much space you've got. There's always some type of compost heap you can do. They're good for reducing the green waste, and they're also good for encouraging wildlife and other things in the garden.
Thanks, Andy. We've got a question here. This is to me. What is the current situation with the business grant scheme? I applied on the 30th of March and have heard nothing yet. According to me, This should be in my account by now. I can't get through on the phone. I was on hold for an hour and 45 minutes before I eventually gave up. Some people seem to have been paid, some people have had emails, and some people have heard nothing, and it seems not to be dependent upon when you submitted the form. Businesses will fail if it's not forthcoming. Many have been promised payments, only to find out that it simply isn't true. What is going on? Well, I think really, really good question, Paul, and I think the key thing to say is that our teams are working really, really hard to ensure that all businesses get payments as soon as possible. If you were one of the initial people that put in forms, so I think we had 900 in the first tranche up until last Thursday, I think, you should be getting paid this week. So check your account today, and hopefully it'll be in the next few days. There are a number of issues we had. Obviously, the government announced this scheme, but the software that we used wasn't compatible, so we had to get a patch on the software. So that was just an administrative problem. Of course, that led to some delays, but our staff are working around the clock to make sure that you get payment as soon as possible. The best thing to do, visit the website. If you can't get what you're looking for there, of course, ring our call centres, but we are in a period of really, really, really massive demand, so there might be a bit of a wait on the phones. But please rest assured, if you have submitted an application, you should get acknowledgement as soon as possible, and the payment should be forthcoming. If you haven't already submitted a grant form, please do it as soon as possible. The sooner that you get the form in, the sooner that we can process it, get it through the system, and make sure that you get paid. But listen, I hear all business owners out there, really uncertain times. There's no hold up deliberately on our part. We're trying our absolute best under really, really difficult circumstances. We will aim to get payment with you as soon as possible. I just ask residents for patience, and we'll get you payment as soon as possible. Please feel free, as other businesses have been doing, if you want to take it further, email me. I will try and get it chased up as soon as possible. But yeah, a lot of people are in the same boat. We are trying to get through a load of applications, and our staff are working around the clock to make that happen. We'll try and get you payment as soon as we can. Right, we have got a question from Mariel Swain in Blockley, up in the North Cotswolds. Andy, this is for you. I'm completely mystified why councils all over the country are closing town centre toilets. Today I had to drive a considerable distance to do a shop for an elderly relative. On arrival, I'm guessing this is in Morton, on arrival all the toilets were closed, and a supermarket and the supermarket was closed, so there were no toilet facilities available. No opportunity to use the bathroom and wash my hands before going in or after leaving the supermarket. And crucially, before arriving to deliver the shopping to the relative. So town centre toilets, Andy, this was a decision that was made quite a while ago, I think, when the initial restrictions got in place. Can you just update us as to what the situation is?
So a lot of the restrictions that came in to begin with were mostly to do with not encouraging people to come out of the house. So you're right, it's problematic. If you've gone to do something specific and there's no toilet facilities available in a supermarket, I can see how that will be a problem. But the overall aim is generally to make sure that we're not giving people an excuse to loiter or mingle or hang around in things like town centres and marketplaces, because that's a key thing we're trying to avoid at the minute. So it's not so much about the use of the toilet, it's about the reasons why we're not wanting people to be out and about at the minute. If there's specific problems in a location, then yeah, get in contact with us, email in, and we'll see if there's something we can do in those particular areas. But the general guidance is that it's to discourage people from coming out, and part of that is having less of the facilities around that you might normally want to be there.
Thank you, Andy. We're going to move now to the next part of our show. We're going to be coming back to questions and answers later. Lots of excellent questions being submitted via our social media channels. So if you've got a question, pop it in the comments section and it will appear on my screen. Towards the end of the show, we will come back to the live Q&A section and answer more of your questions. We're going to go now to our sort of keeping you busy during the lockdown piece. It's a really, really sexy name, isn't it? I think we need to work on that. But yeah, lots of you have been in touch asking what you can do to sort of stay active around the house and just really try and avoid going a bit mad. So we're going to go now to a VT. This is from Daisy Payne, who lives in the Cotswolds and has started her own initiative from home. She's a vlogger. Let's go to the video and we'll talk to Daisy after.
Hello, I'm Daisy. Welcome to my garden. I live in the Cotswolds with my boyfriend. We bought our first house together 4 years ago, and when we first moved in, the garden was a total mud patch. We've made it into our own little haven, and this weekend we have re-edged our border. It was looking really jagged and rubbish, and it's now a really lovely clean line which looks glorious from the kitchen. It took us all morning in the sunshine in our scruffs, but it was really worth it. I've also been sowing annuals. I've been sowing some cornflowers in the border, which I've never done before, so I don't know if that's going to work. And I've also been sowing some stocks and some snapdragons. I think they will go beautifully with my homegrown cultivated digitalis, which is my favourite plant. I've also been raking the veg patch, getting rid of all the stones, ready to sow into there next weekend. One of my favourite things about being in the garden at the moment is the bird song. I can just hear the birds singing now, and everything just seems a little bit quieter and a little bit calmer. And there's nothing lovelier than sitting on the sun deck at the end of a day with a cold glass of something, just relaxing and listening to it.
All of us is you and me and they and them and he and she. All of us cross rivers and streams, eat green beans, tangerines. All of us, it's all of us, it's all of us.
I started my veg patch last year. I'm very much a beginner, but I absolutely love growing my own salad and vegetables. And gardening and growing is something you could definitely start while we're in lockdown. I'm going to show you how you can grow a delicious summer salad in 10 easy steps, and it's something you can do whether you've got a garden, whether you've got a balcony, or whether you can just grow inside, maybe in your kitchen. You literally don't need a garden to grow. First of all, you need a pot, and anything will do. An old yogurt pot or an old soup pot. This one's from mushrooms, or you can use a proper one like this. If you're using an old soup pot or something similar, then you just need to make sure there's a little hole in the bottom, and you can do this using a screwdriver or scissors. You need some compost, and multi-purpose or seed and cutting is great. The finer the compost, the better it is for the seeds. Of course, you need some seeds too. Then you need to fill your tub with compost. Then put a line in it for the seeds to sit comfortably and safely when you sow them. And when you're sowing, often it will say on the back of the packet, sow thinly. And basically, this just means don't load them all in together, just sprinkle them gently and slowly. Then cover over the seeds with your compost, scatter it across, and be careful not to be heavy-handed on that one. Then simply pat down gently with your hand and firm down the compost. This removes the airlocks and makes for just a little bit more likely germination, which essentially means your seeds starting to grow. Then water them in gently and place them in the sun. This might be in your windowsill or on a sunny day in your cold frame. Skip forward a week, and here's how they should start to look. So there we are, it really is that easy. I hope you all stay well and stay healthy. Thank you for watching. Jo, back to you.
Fantastic, and thank you, Daisy. I mean, I'm really, really bad at gardening, and even I think I can do that. I'm thrilled to say that I think we're joined by Daisy on the line. Daisy, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Jo.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for putting that together for us. Really, 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 really handy. And as I was saying, I think I might have to give it a go. Got no excuse not to at the minute. So, Daisy, how did you sort of get into this? It's a sort of quite an interesting thing to start doing.
Yeah, we moved to this house. It's a new build, so moved here about 4 years ago, had a mud patch and just thought we'd get stuck in, really. I'm still very much a novice, but it is great to get outside. It's great for your health. And it's really easy. That's the kind of key message here. It's so easy. You don't even need, a big garden. You can grow herbs and salad indoors or on your balcony. So yeah, there's no reason why not to.
And that's a key point, isn't it? We're really blessed in the Cotswolds. We've got a fantastic, big geographical area. Many people have got really, really big gardens. We hear that from the comments we get about this sort of green waste service being suspended. But I think you know, for people in flats and, you know, in smaller houses in particular, it just goes to show that it can be done.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things that you've touched on already in this live broadcast. One of them is around reusing, and you'll have seen in that video there that I was reusing stuff that I've taken out of the fridge, basically. So old plastic pots, so you can reuse those and grow things like herbs. You could grow little gem lettuce in tiny little pots on a balcony, or even in your kitchen if there's some sunlight. So really useful tools to be reusing some of your waste. Another thing just to touch on as well is I have just ordered a compost bin. So I have no idea what I'm doing, but obviously saw that there are some issues with the green bins. So it was really easy to do. I just went online, used your discount. Thank you very much. And we've just got a small bin coming. I think it was about 20 quid. And we're going to pop it at the top of the garden and see how it works.
Fantastic. And I think obviously at the minute, families stuck at home, a really, really great way as well to sort of engage children and young people in particular.
Definitely. There's a lot to learn. It's really simple. I can't stress it enough. You just need a little bit of soil and some seeds, which you can pick up online, or there are some available in some of the supermarkets if you're going for your shop. And yeah, it's really interactive. What I really love about it is the practicality of it. So I have an office job. I've been working at home a lot, and all I do is type and write emails. So it's really refreshing to get outside and to kind of get stuck in doing some practical jobs. So yeah, definitely worth trying if you've never done it before.
Brilliant. Daisy, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And if people want to sort of check out some of your videos and the things that you've been doing, I think we saw your Instagram handle on there. You're on YouTube as well, I think?
I am. If you search my name, Daisy Payne, or Garden to Garnish, you can find me there. I've got lots of useful, handy, really basic stuff that you can have a look at and maybe start gardening.
Well, Daisy, thank you so much for joining us and for putting that little video together. Really, really, really appreciate it. And we look forward to sort of talking to you after this is all over and seeing the fruits of your labour. Really, really exciting stuff. And I hope that residents across the Cotswolds will, use you as inspiration. Daisy, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, make sure that you check out everything that Daisy's offering. Some really, really great tips and ideas there. We're going to move now to our Community Champions section. We heard last week from Donna Holland, who's leading the volunteering organisation in Bourton-on-the-Water, and hearing about the fantastic work that they're doing. But of course, there are many organisations that are already established in the Cotswolds who are doing fantastic work to try and help residents. One of those is Cirencester Foodbank, and of course we've got the North Cotswold Foodbank in the north doing a similar job. I spoke to Thrussell earlier, who sort of told us what they're up to and gave us a bit of a run through of everything that they're doing. Here's when I spoke to Cliff earlier. I'm joined by Cliff Thrussell from the Cirencester Foodbank. Cliff, tell us about, if you can just give us a bit of an overview of what the Foodbank have been doing over the past month or so since the COVID-19 restrictions.
Well, Joe, it's fair to say we've tried to perform the task and the service as usual, but in these unusual times, that's quite difficult from an operational standpoint. It's difficult if you know our warehouse. It's an excellent facility at the Baptist Church, but it's very difficult to maintain the social distancing 2-metre ruling. So we've had to change how we do things there, but we've made it work. In terms of the locations where we give out food, again, we've had to do things differently in line with social distancing and to keep everyone safe, both volunteers and clients. It's fair to say it's been demanding. It's been demanding because a number of our long-standing, excellent volunteers that have been with Foodbank for many, many years have had to self-isolate themselves. So we've had to enlist some new volunteers, but at the same time, a number of existing volunteers have really stood up to the task and have been, I think, exceptional is a good word to good word to describe those volunteers and everybody associated with Foodbank. So it has been difficult. It's been difficult in terms of getting food, actually, because as you can imagine, we have our supermarket collection points, but people's mind has been very much when you're shopping in those supermarkets at the moment. Initially it was, well, there's no toilet paper, there's no pasta. Let's get it all, and let's make sure we've got some, because we're going to be locked down for so many months. And now it's gone to the point, actually, the shops, the shelves are full, but people are still very much focused on actually their family needs and friends' needs, and they're shopping for more than one person in a number of cases. And it's sometimes easy to forget the tins of tomatoes and pasta, etc., that you would normally donate to Foodbank. So yeah, it's fair to say we've had a little bit of a shortage of food as well, but we're appealing to everyone to help us out in that area.
So Cliff, there'll be many residents watching. We all know members of our community who are vulnerable and might need some assistance. How do people sort of get referred to you, especially at the minute? Because obviously, I imagine demand's gone up, an awful lot. How do people get referred to you, and indeed to the North Cotswold Food Bank in the north of our district?
Well, it's the same as in, as has always been the case. To access Foodbank, you do need to be referred, and you do need a voucher. So citizens' advice, yourselves, CDC, social services, schools, churches, medical, the medical profession. There's less of a case now of visiting these organisations, referral organisations in person. It's a case of actually making contact via telephone or emailing, I guess. And what we're finding actually is that in the past we had physical vouchers that were being sent to us, but now we're actually getting a lot of email, which is great, because we've wanted the electronic version for some time now. So it's working very, very well.
And what would you say are the biggest challenges at the minute? What would your sort of call to arms be?
Biggest challenges. Well, number one is food, and I really ask people at the moment. We're looking for tinned tomatoes, pasta sauce, tea bags, coffee, tinned meat, tinned fruit, tinned rice pudding. So if you can remember Foodbank when you're in the supermarket, or there's a great thing that seems to be, social networking has really picked up on this need. And I was contacted yesterday from a particular road in Stratton that had decided to do a local collection. And this is a great story. So the residents got together, communicated, obviously not to get together face-to-face, communicated the need, Foodbank requirement. And one very kind person opened the boot of her car, stuck a big cardboard box in, and residents came and made their donations into this cardboard box. She contacted me, said, what should I do? But I said, well, in this case, I said, please drop it at my house and I'll make sure it gets to the warehouse. And then I was taking my 1 hour's exercise yesterday with my wife through Stratton, and we saw another box in another street that was a Foodbank volunteer had put out, and people were very, very kindly donating food items and other items for Foodbank. So from a community perspective, Joe, community really is stepping up. And I just say, please, please, please remember us and remember what we're looking for. And any opportunity you have to donate, please do so. But the other things that are giving us issues that is the warehouse. So we've had to, because it's such a confined space, we've moved to family groups, so 2 or 3 people from the same household actually working a shift, so the social distancing isn't an issue, and this is working extremely well. But it's fair to say that we've Foodbank wasn't set up for a pandemic. It's difficult in the best of times, but at times like this, it really is stretching us. And I think some food banks across the UK have actually made a decision, and totally understand that, to step down during the pandemic because they feel that it wasn't safe to operate. We understand that, and it's fair to say that we actually, as a trustee group, looked at this and said, no, we believe that we can put measures in place to work safely throughout this crisis, which is what we're endeavouring to do.
Brilliant. Well, Cliff, thank you so much for everything that you and the other volunteers are doing. And I think, as you've just highlighted, it's becoming a bit of a cliche, but this whole pandemic has really highlighted the real sense of community that we've got here in the Cotswolds, and indeed across the country. I think we're seeing examples of that. Cliff, before you go, are there any sort of special thank yous or shout outs you want to make? Anybody in particular that you'd like to highlight for everybody?
No, in terms of individuals, but I'd just like to thank every volunteer that volunteers for Foodbank. I'd like to thank the trustees. I'd like to thank the people that manage Foodbank under huge amounts of pressure at the moment, because people are trying to contact them at all hours of the day. And I would say, please respect that people have their free time as well. But overall, I'd like to thank the community for their continued support for Cirencester, Tetbury and Fairford Foodbank, because it's this community that makes it work. It's unfortunate we need food banks, but we do, and it's a fact of life. And this community really does support us. So thank you very much to everyone.
Cliff, once again, thank you so much. And indeed, thank you to both Cirencester Foodbank and the North Cotswolds Foodbank for everything that you guys are doing to help support our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
And if you'd like to donate to the food bank, either the Cirencester Food Bank or indeed the North Cotswold Food Bank, you can do so, I believe, by going to their website. I've shared those in the comments section on this post. So, donations are absolutely welcome for these two fantastic charities. Right, we're going to go to our live Q&A session now. These are questions that have been submitted during this broadcast, so we could honestly get anything. We had questions about Easter eggs last year and goodness knows what else. So we're going to go to our live Q&A session, and Andy and I will try our best to answer as many as we possibly can. Right, the first question we've got is from Thomas Seal on Facebook. Please could you let us know about police patrols, as I've seen neighbours not observing social distancing and seen no police. Well, clearly, one for the police, but we will ensure that it's passed on to the police. They are absolutely aware and they are trying their best to cover as much of the Cotswolds as possible. A massive rural area, about 70 miles from the bottom of the district all the way up to the top. So they're trying their best during difficult times. I think the key thing is, if you see really major breaches of social distancing guidelines, make sure you dial that non-emergency number, which is 101, and report it to the police, because if they don't know about it, there's not a lot they can do. I think the other point as well is I'm really keen to get a representative from Gloucestershire Police on this show. I've reached out to their press office and waiting to hear back. So hopefully we'll be able to get a representative from Gloucestershire Police on the show in the next few weeks to answer some questions about that. But absolutely, if you see a breach of social distancing guidelines, dial 101 and make sure that you're reporting it, that non-emergency number. Next question we've got. Andy, this is for you, your area. It's from Sharon O'Grady on Facebook. Why are cemeteries closed? Surely social distancing can be adhered to. It's so upsetting.
So cemeteries are a difficult one. The original closure decision was one that was made by quite a lot of councils when the lockdown first started to come into effect. And if you see what happened in the first week, I think particularly before the Prime Minister did that Monday broadcast, announcing just how serious it was, people weren't really following the social distancing guidelines, and we were definitely having problems in cemeteries both here and around the district, adjacent to the district, where we'd got people who were too close together who were approaching staff. So initially the decision was about, again, is it essential? And I know the longer that the lockdown period drags down, the more of a concern that kind of thing becomes from a mental health point of view, that it's essential. So it is something we're looking at, but we have a choice about trying to reduce essential travel out of people's homes. And that's one of the things we really want to discourage people from making those trips. As this goes on, we'll look again as there's openings up of various types of access to various facilities. We'll see what we can do with that. There's a practical problem for us in terms of staff, for example, at the minute. There are only 2 crews who are normally working on grave digging. They are busy, and those crews, for example, have to be kept separate for social distancing. So that makes it slightly trickier for us with the opening and closing of the cemeteries. We also don't want those staff who've got other key work to do to then be having to do policing of people who are not social distancing or getting too close to the staff. So we are looking at this at the minute, now that we're 2.5 weeks in, through getting towards 3 weeks in terms of how we can approach this in the future. But we haven't got a full plan for that yet. But as soon as there is something, we'll talk to people about that and see what access we can actually make available.
And Sharon, rest assured, we will try and get the cemeteries open as soon as we possibly can. This is, probably one of the hardest things that we've had to deal with since we've been cabinet members of the district council, and we've had to be quite hard, and we've had to make a decision that is really, really uncomfortable and actually quite upsetting. So, folks, we apologise for any upset that it might cause, but we're doing it with the best of intentions and ultimately to keep the public safe and indeed our staff. But as soon as we can get movement on opening cemeteries, we will absolutely do so. Right, we've got one from Rob Gibson, another one for you, Andy. Good afternoon. I appreciate that the collection of green waste has been a problem with the reduction in staff or vehicles. As it's now spring and many people are at home working in their gardens, would it not be a good idea to have one green collection each month and reduce the general waste by 1 collection a month? This would avoid pest control issues relating to rotting green waste and satisfy most people. This would show that the council's flexible with the thinking and open to a solution. That's from Rob Gibson. Andy?
Practical problem with that, Rob, is that we don't have the capacity on the black service either. If we reduce the collection in terms of residual waste, we'd have overflowing residual waste, and it's already running at capacity. Don't forget, most of these services aren't designed to have your bin 100% full every single collection from every single household. So there isn't the spare capacity on the residual service for that. And on the green waste service, don't forget, if you've got vermin, for example, around things like garden waste, then there's something wrong with the garden waste. There shouldn't be any food in there. There should be none of the kind of material that historically attracts vermin. All of that should be going in your food collections, and your food collections are one of the priority services that we're putting extra resources into so we can always take that material away.
Thanks, Andy. I'm going to go straight back to you, I'm afraid. This is from Anna Churn on Facebook, once again. Have the crews that used to collect commercial waste been redeployed for households? All the restaurants are closed, etc., so there should be capacity amongst drivers, surely.
Don't forget, we don't do commercial waste. So in terms of what the district council is responsible for, our statutory obligation is for collecting household waste. We don't currently have a non-household waste collection service, though it is something we're looking at because it makes a lot of sense in a rural area when we're so often travelling to smaller locations. So the crews and the vehicles you're thinking of to redeploy don't actually exist at the minute, and those crews and vehicles are with other organisations, and you've got lots of practical problems about transferring them across and making them use of them on a service like a residential one, which is designed very differently, works in a very different way, and we're now running into the limits of what it can take. There is only so much material that can go to somewhere like the energy from waste plant at Javelin Park. There is only so much material we can take to the place that processes the food, for example. So to a large extent, it still becomes about reducing what's going in rather than trying to deal with more and more material coming through that system.
I've got a question from Pauline Finch. How do we get a food caddy delivered, as my neighbour still hasn't had one?
Okay, Pauline, we're still doing deliveries of containers and caddies that you should have. So they either need to ring up or preferably go on the website. You can still order that caddy. Get in touch with us and ask for it, and we will be delivering it as soon as we are able to. There's a bit of a backlog on at the minute, but we've been working on getting more stuff onto that so we can gradually bring down the kind of normal 4-week wait to something that's quite a lot shorter. So that's still the best thing to do because those deliveries are still going on.
Thanks, Andy. as I said, this is a live broadcast, and we're taking your comments from Facebook, so we get all sorts. This is from Ben Logan in Cirencester. Can I use a stick to keep people at bay? I'm presuming he was talking about the question earlier around people getting close while people are jogging or cycling. Ben, no, please don't use a stick. Let's remain calm and polite with everybody, and observe social distancing rules. I think that's the absolutely key point. So everybody, please be considerate and please don't start taking up sticks and other measures to try and keep people away. We don't want a vigilante movement. We want to make sure that everybody's as tolerant and friendly as possible. And on the whole, most residents are doing just that. So thank you to all residents. This is from Mark Lindley Highfield. How is the council supporting the restriction of holidaymakers and second homeowners from travel to the area during the lockdown? This is a really tricky one. The council doesn't have any enforcement powers. I think Lisa, our cabinet member, touched on this last week. As a council, we don't have any powers to enforce that. All we can do is really encourage people not to travel to our area. And you've seen some really good examples that parish councils have started doing. Bybury, I think, for example, Bourton on the Water. As you drive in, they have signs saying Bourton is closed, Bybury is closed. I think it's a really, really great initiative and just reinforces the issue. And I think on the whole, of course there are exceptions, but on the whole, tourists and holidaymakers and second homeowners have stayed away. But yeah, it's an issue right across the country. It's an issue here in the Cotswolds, up in the Lake District, all having issues with second homeowners coming to the area. On the whole, it's not so bad. Airbnbs seem to have stopped taking bookings, which is good, but it's going to continue to be an issue. And again, if you suspect that something's happening, report it to the non-emergency police line 101, but only if you're absolutely sure that there is a breach, because we don't want to waste police time. Right. What have we got here? This is from Carol Ponce about the business grants. I sent my application in on the 30th of March. When will the grants for small businesses be in our accounts? Carol, as soon as possible. I know that's probably not what you want to hear if it hasn't been transferred into your account yet, and I absolutely get that businesses need certainty, but you put it in over a week ago. It should be coming either today, tomorrow, certainly this week. So I'll tell you what, Carol, pop me an email, joe.harris@cotswold.gov.uk, and I will take a look into your case for you and try and get you some clarity on that. But as I said, if you got the application in before last week, it should, or indeed last week up until Wednesday, Thursday, should get payment this week as soon as possible. This is from Melanie Butler. Do you know the figures of people infected in Cirencester? No, I don't, Melanie. But we know that the southwest has a much lower rate than the rest of the country, which is really, really good news. We get figures for Gloucestershire. I can share those with you, and I will do that after this session. But in terms of Cirencester specifically, I don't know. So we will aim to get you some. Phil Coe, well done to the Barn Theatre for helping to organise this. I hope we continue with these town halls in the future when the crisis is over. Absolutely. And again, a massive shout out to all of the team here at the Barn Theatre for making this possible. And I think the guys here would like to do it after. What do you think, guys? Do you want to continue these town hall events after the COVID-19 crisis is over?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. There we go. They're saying yes in case you can't hear. Right. This is from Jonathan Rook in Cirencester. I'm watching while having a late lunch, and it's got me thinking. Is a hot dog technically a sandwich? Jonathan, I don't know. I'll leave that to others. Maybe other residents can help you on that one. I don't know, and the District Council doesn't have any official advice on whether a hot dog is indeed a sandwich. So sorry for that. This is the thing when you go live. You know, you're open to anything. Right, this is from Lloyd Nail in Cirencester. I know Lloyd. Lloyd, thanks for watching. So we're told to cut back on waste, which I'm sure is sensible. But surely it's common sense that household waste will go up with everybody at home. People that would normally be at work using public bins, etc., or bins at work, they're not using those. They may also have been leaving or deposed their rubbish in their places of work. So there's very little or no commercial waste being produced. but there is a lot more residual waste at home being produced. Yeah, it's a good point, Andy. What would you say to that?
It's not easy, but neither is it impossible. I mean, I've spent a couple of days getting away from email and social media over the Easter weekend, and I've spent some time working on the compost heap at home and sorting all of those out and getting them in better shape so that I'm able to deal much more easily with what we're producing in our garden. We've done things, for example, like we've started to split apart things like peelings and apple cores and those kinds of things, and that's all going in the compost heap at home now, so we're reducing what's going through to the food waste service. We're more careful about what we use in terms of things like packaging. These days, with my diminishing locks, for example, I find that the dry shampoos work brilliantly, and that saves loads and loads and loads of bottles over time. And everyone in our household, for example, has started doing that. So we're in a situation where we never fill all of our containers on the 2-week cycle. And for example, our black residual waste bin with 4 people in the house is normally only ever half full. So it's not impossible, but it does require a change. It is tricky for some people. We do pay particular attention to people, for example, who are producing things like larger amounts of medical waste, and there's particular facilities in place for that. But there's been a drive for years now about the whole reduced, reuse, recycle, and at a point when capacity is constrained, now is a good time to be putting some more work into that. It is possible to do. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. You're helping with the current COVID-19 situation, and you are helping to save the planet in the long term. Those are both good things to be doing.
Thanks, Andy. This is from Smith Chris on Facebook. I'm guessing that's Chris Smith, but the name's backwards. So apologies, Smith, or indeed Chris, if that's your first name. Do you think it's acceptable that workers/care workers are getting parking tickets due to the fact that there are many cars parked in the streets? I know of 2 that have received tickets, even though they have carer on call signs in their windscreens. They don't have time to go to the car parks as they were full, visiting people, because they're visiting people's homes. Are you just going to blame the county council? No, I'm not going to blame the county council, but what I will do, get in contact with me. I think it's totally unacceptable if carers are getting parking tickets. Email me, joe.harris@cotswold.gov.uk, and I will look into that and raise it with the county council directly, because I think you're absolutely right. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth if our carers are getting parking tickets when they're caring for the most vulnerable in society. So I will personally take that up with the county council, and we'll see what we can do on that. Right, what have we got? Let's see what else we've got. When will the museum be opening up in Cirencester? Andy, I'll pass that to you, because I don't think there are any plans.
I've inherited that one in my portfolio as well. No, there aren't any plans. Comes back into the same as lots of other things. We were talking about the public toilets, for example, earlier. Things that encourage you to go out are currently considered bad. It's as simple as that. That's the core government guidance. You're going out for essentials and only essentials, and to get your exercise. So remember the advice you'll see being repeated in the daily press conferences every day, and the museum comes into that category. It's not an essential thing you need to go and do. It's not obvious how this will change in future, and it's not obvious what the removal of lockdown restrictions will mean in practice. So once we know that, and we know how this pandemic is playing out in the UK and internationally, we'll have more of an idea. But we simply don't know those things yet.
Okie dokie. There are mortgage. This is from Chris Parry. There are mortgage holidays. Will this apply to rent too? I'm not sure off the top of my head. We had Councillor Lisa Spivey, who's our cabinet member for housing. I will get her to follow that up. I know some housing associations are working with their tenants to try and come up with a solution. In terms of private rent, we know that residents can't be evicted. I think it's 3 months in the legislation, so you should be okay. If you're struggling to pay your rent, you won't be evicted during the lockdown period. One we'll look into for you, Chris, and we'll aim to get you an answer back as soon as possible. Some really good messages coming through as well about some of the work that communities are doing to help collect for the food bank. Bowling Green Lane residents in Cirencester, I think, did a street collection. Fantastic. Other examples as well. Fantastic. And to see the food bank are watching and commenting along. So thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for coming on. Really, really fantastic work. Melanie Butler, why are schools doing different things for free school meals? Wouldn't it be more help for the families to be given vouchers so they only have to go out for food in one journey? Melanie, a really interesting question. I don't know. Again, it's one of the things that the County Council are working on. We're working in partnership with the County Council, so I'll aim to get an answer to you post this session. Can pressure be put on the local MP? I've put some questions in and haven't had any answers, just in a generic out-of-office reply. Well, the good news is that Geoffrey Clifton Brown runs his very own show, similar to this, on Fridays at 3:30, I think it is. Guys, I'm looking. Yeah, 3:30 on Friday. So please, if you've got a question of Geoffrey, please put it to him at these sessions on Friday, and I'm sure he'll aim to get back to your email as soon as possible. This is from Mandy Lafford. Joe, please let everyone know that Citizens Advice is still here for the community, and the free phone number is on their Facebook page. And that's a really key point. Citizens Advice, again, an organisation that the District Council helps fund and are really grateful to, because they really help us in the work that we do. Offer all sorts of advice, filling out forms for benefits, for disability payments, you name it, the Citizens Advice Bureau will help you with it. So we're really lucky. So yeah, Cotswold and Stroud Citizens Advice Bureau, big shout out to them. And actually an invitation, Mandy, if you're still watching, we'd love to have you on. Come and bring the team on to the show. We can do it via video link. That would be absolutely fantastic. We'd love to have you on the show. Right. Can you tell me how many people in the Cotswolds have died due to COVID-19? I can't off the top of my head, but again, those Gloucestershire statistics will contain that sort of information, so we'll try and get you that. What else got? A bit more about museums and shops. Anyway, we refer to Andy's previous answer. Question again from Tina about Chesterton Cemetery. You answered that. Linda Hicks Collett in Bourton-on-the-Water, thanks to the co-op and to volunteers in Bourton-on-the-Water for getting a shopping to the vulnerable. And I think that'll be quite a good place to leave it, just really to focus on the fantastic efforts of our communities here in the Cotswolds, right up in Mickleton and Chipping Campden in the north of the district, down to Tetbury, Didmarton in the south. I have been absolutely taken aback by the amazing sense of community spirit that has been on display over the past few weeks. And I think the key thing for all of us, even when this crisis has abated, is how can we ensure that we use the benefits that we've got from the communities coming together? How can we harness that to really produce something new for the Cotswolds, and hopefully change the way that we look at our neighbours and indeed treat each other? Particularly over the last few years with all the political uncertainty around Brexit, it's a time to come together. It's a time to really take a step back and really value what we've all got and what we all hold dear. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back again next Tuesday from 3:30. As I mentioned, Geoffrey Clifton Brown has his show on Friday afternoon, his Q&A session. Get along to that to ask him any questions, and also check out the fantastic array of entertainment that the Barn Theatre are offering by visiting the Barn Theatre's Facebook page. Folks, thank you so much. We'll be joining you again next Thursday from 3:30. Look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
In March 2018, we opened our doors to the public with a vision not just to create challenging professional theatre, but to use this as a platform to inspire and bring communities together. Theatre and culture build identity. With theatre and culture in our local life, the community landscape is more vibrant. Local life is enriched. We believe that the benefits of theatre should be available for everyone, Our Theatre for All programme has removed financial barriers, giving disadvantaged people access to the theatre free of charge.
So we were told that we'd come here and have a Christmas meal and then go and watch A Christmas Carol.
Our aim is to make live professional theatre available to everyone and use that experience for positive change. Theatre can be transformational in young lives. Our academy is now in its 4th year, and we continue to build on our vision of bringing the best performing arts tuition to the heart of the Cotswolds. We work hard to make our academy as inclusive and as accessible as possible. Discounts apply for parents with more than one child. Our bursaries help support talented children from less affluent backgrounds. The Academy creates a fun and challenging environment where children can build friendships and develop key skills not just for theatre, but for life. We are also able to provide real opportunities for students who wish to pursue careers in the arts.
My name is Harry Apps. I am currently playing Marius in Les Miserables in the West End.
Barn outreach and learning programmes engage with thousands of people. Our free workshops support the drama curriculum in local schools. Singing and musical theatre workshops in community groups and care homes have helped address issues of isolation. Our Song for Cirencester project in aid of mental health charities brought our community together in an unprecedented way. We've collaborated with many charities in the region, including the Cllr project, to support individuals dealing with the barriers to finding work.
Since working with you, and my life's changed. It's given me some purpose, given me an interest, some confidence I was lacking prior to all this.
The Barn Theatre played a pivotal role in the town's 2018 World War I centenary celebrations. Who could forget our record-breaking Human Poppy? Our live streaming work on the annual Advent Festival helped thousands engage and take part in Cirencester's Christmas festivities. In these times of uncertainty, we strive to keep the community together. The theatre may be temporarily closed, but our commitment to you goes on. Even now, our amazing costume department are helping the NHS by making scrubs for frontline workers. We've used our technology to build a free live streaming service that provides much needed community news and entertainment for all the family, broadcasting every day to keep us all connected. We are not just a theatre. We are the Barn.